everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com and it's my favourite time of the week. That's right, it's time for Wrestlers of the Week. Post-WrestleMania weekend edition, because sometimes after WrestleMania weekend things sort of cool down for a week or two, but there have been some excellent matches this week and some big talking points as well. So without any further ado, let's get started. As always, a few honourable mentions to shout out first. Mustafa Ali had a very good match on SmackDown. Flip Gordon had a good match in Ring of Honor. Jonathan Gresham and Jay Lethal also had a really good match at that Ring of Honor show. A 30-minute tag team match, which is quite an interesting concept, quite like that. And also, the Viking Experience, I've got to give them a shout out just because I feel bad for them, lads. Ivar and Eric, my boys, it'll be alright. I've also been getting quite a few emails and tweets and that sort of thing about honourable mentions, and I want to give a shout out to a lad called Adam M, who emailed me saying that a Scottish wrestler called Zach Dynamite deserves a shout out. He faced Pac at WrestleZone Aberdeen Anarchy on Saturday and put in a tremendous showing, almost got the win with a frog splash, but eventually lost after a low blow and the Black Arrow. Pac, you big bloody heel, how dare you? Thank you very much to Adam M there for that recommendation. In at number 10, oh my god, it's Tyler. That's right, picking up 1 point this week, and I think it may be his first ever appearance on Wrestlers of the Week. It's my delight to introduce number 10, Tyler Breeze. So WWE's Worlds Collide event, which took place over WrestleMania weekend but only aired this week, so I'm including it in this week if that makes sense, was a bit of a weird one. It seemed to be in some sort of like shipping warehouse down by the river in New York, really out the way of everything else that was going on. But it gave the venue a certain atmosphere, I guess, for that show. The crowd were a little bit in and out at times, and it did feel a little bit like kind of filler. You know, it was strange to see access events take place in such a weird building, but at the same time, it did allow some less prominent, I guess, stars on WWE's roster who maybe should have more of a chance. It allowed them a bit of a platform, and Tyler Breeze took advantage. Boy, did he. He's super good looking, every hair in place. He main evented the first episode, I guess, of Worlds Collide, taking on Roderick Strong of the Undisputed Era, and picked up the bloody victory, Tyler. Yes, it was a decent match as well. I was pleased to just see Tyler Breeze wrestling. You know, I love him on Up Up Down Down. I love him on any sort of extra thing he appears on the network, but I really miss seeing him as a wrestler. And I was delighted to see him wrestle here against Roderick Strong and pick up the bloody victory as well. The bad times for the Undisputed Era continue though, with Roderick Strong losing and maybe falling out with Adam Cole as well. Ooh, maybe that'll serve Roderick Strong right for being the heel of this list in 2018. That's right, Roddy, mate. Karma's coming for you. Number 9, maybe the hottest star of Ring of Honor at the moment, apart from, I guess, the new champion, Matt Taven, and obviously Enzo and Cass as well. But I'm talking about Bandido. At Ring of Honor's last pay-per-view, Bandido won a 4-way junior-style match. Cruiserweights, flippy action, flippy lads. He won a 4-way match against Caristico, PJ Black, the Darewolf, formerly known, of course, as WWE's Justin Gabriel, and Flip Gordon as well. I thought Flip Gordon was going to win that match after the whole New Japan Ring of Honor G1 Supercard show. I thought that maybe they were going to push Flip Gordon because he's just returned from injury. But the other candidate to win the match was Bandido because of his really strong showing in the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Triple Threat. And I guess that he did prove himself, because not only did he do a ridiculous spot in that match, which I mentioned last week, but also this week, he did pick up the big victory, perhaps signifying that Ring of Honor have a bright future in store for Bandido. They really recognise his promise, is what I think's happening here. The match, I guess, has chiefly been remembered online or has gone a little bit viral because of Flip Gordon's gif, where he basically jumped. He didn't make the gif, it was probably Lariato or one of them boys, but Flip Gordon did like a springboard plancha type somersault thing from, you know, the ring into the crowd, which looked really reckless and cool. But it was Bandido actually who picked up the victory, and I think he may have even pinned Flip Gordon. So what do I know about who's going to get a push in Ring of Honor, eh? When Bandido signed for Ring of Honor, by the way, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, why has he done that? Maybe, surely All Elite would want Bandido. He's like a hot rising star, he's young, he's great, he's strong, he's quick, he can do flips. But at the same time, it seems like Ring of Honor's turning out all right for him. After that G1 Supercard, where he was one of the few Ring of Honor roster members who actually came out looking good. And also this match as well. It seems like Bandido's having a decent year for himself. Hopefully it continues. Next up, number 8, the man of 1,000 abs. It's Finn Balor. Big Fergal. Finn Balor put in a shift this week on WWE television, wrestling on Raw and SmackDown, and I think having the best match on either night as well. So he had, you know, 2 appearances, put on the match of the night in both. That's going to net you some Wrestlers of the Week points, Finn, mate. First, on Raw, he faced incoming new Raw shake-up superstar Andrade and lost, actually, in a non-title match. He's still the IC champion, of course. And a lot of people were like, oh, maybe Finn shouldn't have lost. You know, champions lose too often. And I do see that point of view, but I think it was maybe important for Finn to lose here. it wasn't a clean victory, you know, Zelina Vega got involved. And also, I think it was more important to have Andrade look strong on his first night on Raw. Then, on Tuesday, Finn kind of redeemed himself. He's now been drafted over to SmackDown and beat Mustafa Ali again in the match of the night. That match was also really good, which explains Mustafa Ali's... which explains Ali's honourable mention at the start of this video. But yeah, it was Finn who picked up the victory there, which I think was the right call. And hopefully we get to see more matches between those two, because they really did have good chemistry. On the whole, I'm really excited to see Finn on SmackDown. I think that he's going to have a bit of a refresh. I think he's going to have a whole new set of opponents, which is going to be great. And, you know, hopefully we won't have to see him wrestle Lashley a million times in a month. Which, you know, I mean, I like Bobby Lashley, but I don't want to see him wrestle the same guy week in, week out. Number 7, an NXT superstar by the hulking name of Dominic Djokovic. Hulking name? Can a name be hulking? Well, he's a hulking man, and he's got a name, and that name is Dominic Djokovic. I've already said it. Yeah, this was the best match, and I think also the most hotly anticipated match that took place at the Worlds Collide event over WrestleMania weekend, which, as I've mentioned, went to air this week, so I'm including it this week. You'll get the you understand what I mean. You see what I'm doing. I'm actually pretty surprised that Djokovic lost, because he's obviously the younger star, younger than his opponent, and I thought they were going to use this to really put him over the top as a big, dangerous monster while we wait for the rematch with Keith Lee. But at the same time, I think I wasn't too annoyed that he lost, given that it was just the Worlds Collide event. And it was a really good showing as well. The sort of showing that really demonstrated Djokovic's freakish agility for his size, also his strength and his viciousness. And also in the build-up to the match as well, it demonstrated his heartlessness on Twitter, because Harper did a nice long message about how this match meant so much to him, he was going to give it his all, you know, his family are going to be there, it's so important, and everyone was like, go on Harper, mate. And then Djokovic replied like, I don't care about any of that, I'm going to batter you. I'm glad he lost, actually. Glad he lost, because he was really mean to poor Harper. What's Harper ever done? Apart from being a member of a really violent cult and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But, you know, he's got a friendly face. Number 6 is Harper. I've just talked about him. He picked up the victory over Dominic Djokovic, which I was really surprised about. But he is also obviously very much the man of the moment right now. He's in the centre of the news because he's publicly announced that he wants to leave WWE. So I've already kind of talked about that match, but it was really nice to see Harper just in full babyface mode. You know, I think he was high-fiving fans. I think he hugged his family members in the front row maybe at one point. Either way, it was really nice to see. He got in the ring and did what he does, which is put on excellent wrestling matches. And we always forget this because he's had bad luck with injuries, and WWE just always seem to take away his pushes when they're starting to build up a bit of a head of steam. You know, all through his career as well, by the way, Harper has maybe not had the best of luck with creative, but he still always manages to get across the fact that he's a very capable professional wrestler. And even if you've never experienced him on the indies, whether he was like in Chikara just knocking smaller guys about or whatever, I think that even if you weren't familiar with his background as Brody Lee, he's still really managed to get across just how good he is, even with the limited opportunities he's kind of had in WWE. So I guess the question is, where does Harper go next? All Elite Wrestling? I don't know. Who knows where he could go? That was an exaggerated W, that wasn't it? But honestly, I do think, and I don't want to be one of these guys who every time someone announces that they want to leave WWE, or every time someone gets released from WWE, I don't want to be one of these guys who's like, they should go to All Elite, Cody, sign him up, because it doesn't work for everyone, you know what I mean? Not everyone's going to be a good fit for All Elite, and they've only got limited roster space. You want to kind of harvest the indies as well for the best talent from around the world, not just WWE. At the same time, though, I will make the exception for Harper. I think he is a great fit for All Elite, or what All Elite appears to be going forwards, and I just really want to see that. I want to see him cut loose and have excellent matches again, and I think this one against Djokovic might be the first indicator of what's to come. He's not that young anymore, but he can still go in the ring. Number 5, like Finn Balor, another man who has been drafted to SmackDown, but not from Raw. He's coming up from 205 Live. It's the former Cruiserweight champion, Bloody Buddy Murphy. Now, Buddy actually doesn't get on the list for a match on SmackDown because he's not actually had a match on SmackDown yet. It's for what he did this week on NXT, where he returned to NXT, where he was kind of, yes, he's a former NXT Tag Team Champion, but, you know, as the name of his former partner's stable implies, he was kind of swept under the carpet a little bit. A bit of a forgotten son as well. Not as much as Blake, because obviously Murphy then went on to 205 Live and showed us all that he's bloody fantastic. But in returning to NXT as a proper single star in WWE, Murphy received such a great reception, and it was for a matchup that no one had really thought of, I don't think, before it was announced, but everyone, as soon as it was announced, were like, That's going to be a great match. And it was a great match as well. And yes, Buddy Murphy didn't pick up the victory. I don't think he should have done either, because I think it's more important to keep his opponent strong, given that he's the North American champion. But it was so nice to see. I love these moments where someone from either the main roster or 205 Live or something goes back to NXT. That's part of why I was so disappointed when Sasha and Bayley lost those titles at WrestleMania. Not because I'm a hater of the Iconics. I really like the Iconics. I like them a hell of a lot more than a lot of guys in the back. But I hate this idea that they're the best. I'm the best on this microphone in that. It's not because I don't like the Iconics. It's because I wanted to see so badly Bayley and Sasha go down to NXT, defend those titles, maybe against Kairi Sane and Io Shirai, and just do all that kind of business that they said they were going to do, and that I think probably they were told that they were going to be allowed to do backstage. But back to Buddy Murphy, a tremendous showing here on NXT, and I can't wait to see him on the main roster. I hope he doesn't get lost in the shuffle amongst bigger or maybe more established names, but at the same time, if anyone can get themselves over by putting on tremendous performances in the ring, then it's Buddy Murphy. And Mustafa Ali as well, because he did it already. Ali's kind of given Buddy Murphy the blueprint, and Murphy just needs to follow it as best he can, and I think he'll be pretty solid. Hopefully so anyway, because I really like him, and I want to see him do well. Number 4, let's go over to All Japan Pro Wrestling, where the Champion Carnival, which is their version of like the G1 Climax, I guess. It's a round-robin tournament that happens once a year. That's taking place, and it's time to throw in a guy from that tournament, and a former champion in All Japan, but not currently. It's Zeus. Look at the size of him. Look at that. Now, obviously, this isn't Zeus, the late 1980s nemesis of Hulk Hogan in both the real world of professional wrestling and the fake world of Hollywood. No, this is Zeus from All Japan, and Jesus Christ. Now, obviously, the All Japan, it's kind of a work-ready sort of tournament, but I wouldn't say it's quite on the same level as the G1 Climax, he says, while wearing his bloody New Japan merch. But at the same time, there have been some great matches so far, and a lot of those great matches have contained Zeus. Despite seeming like a bit of a special attraction, it's like, whoa, he's like Brock Lesnar, he's going to come in once in a while, just dominate and then take off again. He's actually one of the more consistent main eventers in All Japan's roster, in my opinion anyway. I think he's capable of putting on very good matches with a variety of different styles of opponents, basically, and he demonstrated that this week. I think his best 2 matches so far in the tournament have probably come against Dylan James and Ryuji Sai. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Apologies to Ryuji, and indeed Dylan, if I pronounced his name wrong as well. But I think those have been Zeus's 2 best matches, and they came within days of each other, maybe even on consecutive days, I can't quite remember. And it just shows that he is still lingering around the top of the card after having some excellent match of the year candidate level matches with Kenzo Miyahara last year in their title feud. In fact, Zeus is kind of like a kid from Spain, as in like a wrestler who last year I just missed out on a lot of their matches, and I feel like I should have given them more Wrestlers of the Week points as a result. But at the same time, I'm giving him his due now. So there you go, Zeus, mate. You've got the Jack the Jobber seal of approval. Please don't eat me and my entire family in one sitting, you big scary man. Number 3, the man who defeated Buddy Murphy and is still the NXT North American champion. It's bloody Velveteen Dream. Look at him. He is magnificent. I have already talked a little bit about that match, but I will sort of re-emphasize the point that I'm glad that Velveteen Dream won this match. I don't think there was any real danger of him losing, but at the same time, you never quite know what's going to happen on NXT. One day, Buddy Murphy might be Velveteen Dream. The next day, your tag team champions might get called up, appear on Raw without their titles, and have different first names, and be called the Viking Experience. But often, NXT is kind of rooted in sensible booking, and I like that. Sensible doesn't necessarily mean boring, it just means sensible. And I think the Velveteen Dream winning here was great. It was a great match, a great showcase of both men's ability, and it's getting to the stage now where I just can't wait for Velveteen Dream to get called up, because I'm going to semi-confidently predict that he's going to kill it on the main roster. And now I've said that, I'm looking at guys like EC3 or indeed Eva and Eric, the Viking Experience, and I'm just a bit concerned. But no, Velveteen Dream's like tailor-made for the main roster, is he not? Look at him, look at his charisma and his style, and he's a pretty big guy as well, if that's important in 2019. And yeah, I just can't wait. WWE Champion of the Future, please, make it happen. I also want to give a big shout out to, I think it was Sam actually, but when Sam and Pacini were doing their SmackDown stream, Sam theorised, I think it was Sam, theorised what if Velveteen Dream gets called up and gets called Purple Patrick, which I really like, because his first name is Patrick, then he wears purple. That's Joke of the Week from Sam, 10 points to him, you are my Cultaholic Employee of the Week. I should do that as a series as well. Number 2, let's talk about a man called Jie Ishikawa. He is someone that, I'll hold my hands up, I wasn't too familiar with, but I've done my research because he had the match of the week this week. He is I was going to say former Big Japan, but I think he still works for Big Japan, but also All Japan wrestler. He's a bit older, I think he's like in his early to mid 40s. He is strong style, he's stiff, his strikes are insane, and he's a right tough bastard. But yes, Ishikawa had the best match of All Japan's tournament so far. Yeah, it was a delight. It was really fast-paced. It didn't fall into the trap of going too long because sometimes when big Japanese promotions put on these tournaments that span days after days after days, long matches can get a bit grueling, but this one was within sort of 20 minutes, I think, which was a good call, and they just blasted each other with everything. It was awesome. I was really impressed, and it sounds weird to say that about like a 43-year-old or whatever he is, but at the same time, I'd never really seen him before, and he was excellent. Even more importantly, Ishikawa picked up a victory over the current champion of All Japan, which is huge because unlike, let's use WWE as contrast, where champions lose all the time and it sometimes builds to a pay-per-view match. When that happens over in Japanese wrestling, it tends to mean a lot. Yes, it does also build to a big pay-per-view match, but it can often signify a title change or a storyline nuance or something like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if after this tournament's all said and done, Ishikawa gets another title shot and it's a bloody good match as a result. Maybe better than this one, although it will have to top a damn good effort from both men. Speaking of both men, let's talk about number 1 and my wrestler of the week for post-WrestleMania weekend, scooping up a cheeky 10 points. Let's find out who it is. Yes, my wrestler of the week this week is none other than the man I was just talking about, the current champion of All Japan Pro Wrestling and one of the aces of Japanese wrestling. We're going to have to start comparing him to Okada because he's having a brilliant year and had a brilliant last year too. Kento Miyahara. Now, I feel like justice has been done, right? Not just because he had the best match of the week, which is great, and yes, he lost, but he's been really consistent in the tournament so far. I feel like justice has been done because I didn't give Kento any points last week because it was just totally overshadowed by WrestleMania weekend, and some of his excellent tournament matches actually happened last week, but like all the wrestling in the world was happening in New York. So I was like, I want to give him some points, but it would be odd to just stick one non-WrestleMania weekend wrestler in there amongst all these other guys. So I was actually really hoping that Miyahara would have some good matches this week and be able to pick up a few points, but it turns out he's had one absolutely excellent match and a few other really good ones as well. So I had to give him the 10 points, and he is my wrestler of the week, and that, I think, is justice served. Overshadowed by WrestleMania weekend, week after, redemption story from Kento. I'm sure that's absolutely made his day. I bet he is delighted with himself. Now, I don't know much about how often New Japan take talent from other companies and stuff, but I'd be so surprised if they didn't have their eye on Kento Miyahara. I know, though, that in Japan, guys seem to be tied to it's a lot less fluid. Guys seem to stick with their companies a lot more, well, for a lot longer than maybe over in the US or the UK, which is just like an open contract, like everyone goes everywhere, until WWE came in and messed it all up. No, I'm only kidding. But basically, I think it would actually be a shame if Kento got taken away from All Japan because he is an absolute stud, and I think without him, it would actually kind of harm the promotion because they'd be losing not only their top guy, but their guy of the future. He's so young and already very, very good at what he does. On the other hand, selfishly, because New Japan's more accessible to a Western audience and I enjoy it more, I want to see them take him, and that's horrible of me to say, and I'm really sorry, All Japan, but imagine Kento in the bloody G1 climax. Imagine Kento versus Okada. I want it immediately, and if it ever happens, one of those two lads is wrestler of the week for that week. I guarantee right now. So congratulations, Kento Miyahara. Yes, indeed, you are my wrestler of the week for the week after WrestleMania weekend. Catchy. Justice has been done. He was overshadowed. Now he's got 10 big points in the bag. The only thing left to do is take a look at the league table. There's actually not much to talk about in the league table, really, because a lot of the non-movers are at the top as everyone sort of cools down from WrestleMania weekend. But the big winners of this week in terms of points and position are Velveteen Dream and Kento Miyahara, moving up to 11th and 12th respectively. And I don't think that anyone else has picked up any more points in the top 25. So I'm just going to fill a bit of time, and thanks for watching. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.